Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? How are we doing today? Heyo, what is going on, everybody? Hope we're all having a beautiful Sunday today. It is May 4th, 2025, 12:10 p.m. Sorry that we are super late, but, doing my best over here. Doing my best over here. Oh, what is up, Delta? What's up, Loud? What's up, Sir Julius Kingsley? Hey, number one fan, how you doing? Hope everything is going okay. I'm sending you love. Sending you love. What up, Sir Julius? How we doing? Zebek is here. What up, Tuxie, Mr. Disappointment? We have a beautiful moment here today. Let me switch into presentation mode. So, unfortunately, Shonen Jump is on break this week, which, no worries, no complaints. What we will go ahead and do is we will just do a Kagurabachi tier list. I will be bringing the Kagurabachi content whether we get new chapters or not. You can definitely count on that. As always, this is, and I will say from the very beginning, my one and only point. This is all my opinion, so keep that in mind. Keep that completely in mind. So I may be wrong on some things, we may disagree with some things, but just know that I love Kagurabachi as a series. Genuinely speaking, I have been loving where the series has been going ever since the Rakuzachi arc. I know I was a little critical of it in the very beginning, which genuinely, the beginning portion of Bachi is not my favorite, but once we hit Rakuzachi, Yora shows up, we start fighting Kyora and the Shinichi. It is, oh my god, it is such a great series. And I figured since we're on break, like I said, we would do a fun little scaling tier list just to see how strong people are. I want to make it clear, you're going to see like 18 Chihiros on this list. I'm only going to be ranking the characters as they are now. I'm not going to be going through and say, oh, beginning of series Chihiro was here, weekend Chihiro was here, and no. We're not going to waste time on that. We're just going to pick everyone's final forms and rank them based on that and create a nice little fun tier list as a whole. What I may do is, like, you'll see here we have things like base Uruha and Uruha with Kumayori. Obviously, we would never know how strong Uruha is with his original blade unless he reveals himself to actually be alive. And he gets the contract with the blade again after Hirohiko dies. So, I would consider that different, like base Somura compared to Tobi Mune Somura. I would consider those actual different versions of the characters. So I will definitely be scaling these two different versions, like Kumayori Hirohiko versus EI Hirohiko, right? I'll definitely do that. EI Chihiro versus EI with Enten Chihiro. That's fine. But I'm not doing like I said, all of these 10 versions of Chihiro. Could Chihiro defeat Sukuna? I don't think so. I don't think so, Chief, unfortunately. Just based off of one quick observation, maybe, putting in a little bit more research, maybe someone could prove me wrong. But, yeah. Have we actually even seen EI Enten Chihiro? No, that will kind of be speculation as well. Thought it was how much you like the character. No, I'll definitely be talking about how cool of a character they are and analyzing them, and discussing their traits, everything that I like about them, but this will specifically be a power tier list just to get started, and then I'll do maybe a favorite character tier list later. As for right now, there's not really too many crazy characters to follow. It's not like a huge cast, right? But I mean, Chihiro is an amazing MC, don't get me wrong. He'd definitely be one of the best MCs in Shonen Jump in a while. That is just so easily relatable, because I'll be honest with you, for someone like me, I've always been like someone that gets along with the dirt protagonist 9 times out of 10. I might be saying that wrong. But like in Naruto, I fucked with Sasuke. In Black Clover, I fucked with Yuno. That's not to say that I don't like Naruto and I don't like Asta, but I definitely prefer the secondary protagonist more. And that's kind of, I like that vibe of character a little bit more personally. I was always a little bit more of a more angsty child, so I kind of resonate with it. Just to tattle on myself and date myself a little bit, but Chihiro is definitely an easily relatable to character, just like Yuji. Like, you can just get into that main character no matter who you are. Same with Ichigo from Bleach. But like, I loved Sojo more than anything as an antagonist. I think he serves as like the Zabuza Momochi character type perfectly. Hiyuki Shiba is fun. Kyora was a great antagonist. I actually have a whole video on Sojo, honestly, on the second channel, which, by the way, real quick, just to shout out before we get started, if you didn't already know, I do cover Kagurabachi every week on the second channel. No More Operator or No Operator 2. The link is in chat. So yeah, I cover it every week. There's a new chapter. I cover it. I'm also hoping to have more Kagurabachi discussion videos. Like, I have a 17-minute video all talking about what makes Sojo special. So I'm definitely got the Bachi content, and it's coming your way. But if you want more of it, definitely subscribe to the second channel. Link is in the chat or the video description. Again, covering Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, Dan Chainsaw Man, everything. Every week. Except this week because it's on break. Did you like Megami more than Yuji? I did, to a point. I always thought Megami had a little bit more coolness, but that kind of all got taken away later. Although I do really enjoy Yuji as a main character. I definitely love Yuji as a main character. Have you ever played Undertale or any other indie game? Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of indie games. Undertale's a really great RPG. Love Undertale. But anyway, y'all, let's get into Kagurabachi tier list. That's what you guys are all here for, so let's just not waste any more time. We've yapped enough, and I've made you guys wait. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. It really helps the stream way more than you know. And let's just get started. Obviously, I don't want to go right into Chihiro from the very beginning, so we'll hold off. Thank you to the person that created this tier list, Sasori B on X. Go follow them. Good afternoon, Multiverse. What up, Delazar? If you got an idea of an Enchanted Blade design, would you want if fan art was to be made? Yo, I've always been a big fan of like darkness abilities, or like just pure like Yami Sukihiro from Black Clover is such a cool swordsman with like darkness, where like it's kind of like gravity, but also at the same time it's also like it's a bunch of different things all at once. It can cut through dimensions. It's just, darkness is OP. It's only based on strength, mostly based on strength. Yes. I'm gonna change the tiers a little bit here, so I'm gonna put S plus threat. We'll do S tier. Enchanted Blade level, high threat, A tier threat. Well, I guess Enchanted Blade level, and then we'll do Enchanted Blade level, high level, sorcerer, and then we'll do mid, bad, not good. And we can delete this tier. Can I fit that all on one row, please? No? Not cool enough? Bad, not good. Oh no, that looks even worse. Okay. Well, thank you for the 5. What do you think about Kagurabachi's power system compared to JJK? Kagurabachi still has some more fleshing out that it needs to do, in my honest opinion. I do enjoy the spiritual energy aspect of everything and the way that it works. However, I think the idea of like curse techniques just has had so much more time to flesh itself out and become more complex and, you know, complicated. Do you really need 2 S tiers? Yes, you'll see why in a moment. You will see why in a moment. You'll see why in a moment. But thank you for the 5, Loud. I definitely prefer Jujutsu Kaisen system, but I also prefer like Hunter x Hunter system to Jujutsu Kaisen, even though I'd put them similarly on a same level. It all depends on what kind of system you prefer. I think Jujutsu Kaisen, well, Kagurabachi is a little bit more simple, which isn't a bad thing. Jujutsu Kaisen can be a little bit more in depth, but again, it's only been 70 something chapters, so that might change. And as for where Kagurabachi characters scale on an average level, just mostly based off of Sojo's use of Cloud Gouger in the very beginning of the series, with his giant May explosion, I believe it was, and based off of his fight with the anti-Cloud Gouger squad, and just everything that's come forth with Chihiro able to match that level of power, absorb it, Kyora Sazanami's subspace storage space sorcery, as well as just everything we may have seen at Sekutsuji with Samura. It seems like Kagurabachi goes from, you know, building multiple building level, depending on if you're around like high level, you know, around here, to enchanted blade level. You are most likely nearing multi to city block level, to S plus threat. You know, I mean, you've got the Sword Saint who was able to take on and take down an entire island of people. Now, you could argue he wasn't able to completely destroy the island, so I don't know if I'd give the Sword Saint an entire island level power, but at the same time, it shows you, you know, the level of power. Somura was also able to light up the entire battlefield, you know, using Suzaku during the Seitei War. So, like, again, like, Enchanted Blade level is, like, kind of close to kind of close to City Block, nearing City Block, and then as we get to SS plus, we go from, like, definitely City Block to multiple City Block to potentially, you know, when it comes to the matters of the Sword Saint might just be, you know, full town city level, maybe even entire island, to potentially growing to entire country. The Sword Saint and the Shinichi, the Magatsumi, is kind of all up to speculation right now. And again, when you consider that the Shinichi was able to completely destroy an entire island, remember, he didn't destroy an island by blowing it up with his attack potential. He kind of took it over with the malediction. So I wouldn't necessarily prescribe that attack potency as island level. Definitely keep that in mind. Although, since we're speaking about the Sword Saint and we don't have too much else to say because we don't know too much else about him, yeah, he life wiped the island, basically. That's pretty much the best way to explain it, Coconut. Exactly. I haven't watched Overlord, no. I don't know much about Overlord at all. I just know there's a big giant skull guy. And I think it's about video games. Never played Undertale Yellow either. But yeah, Sword Saint as an S plus threat is definitely the easiest place to start off, simply because there is no one on the same level as the Sword Saint. There's not a single person that compares. It took all of the enchanted blade wielders together to stop the Sword Saint's assault on the island of, what's the island's name? I'm sorry, it's completely dropping my brain here. I'm having a brain fart. This is why I need you guys, chat. Shokoku, that's what it is. Thank you, Alonzi. How you doing, Alonzi? Shout out, another fellow YouTuber. Everyone go show him some love. Click on his channel. Makes great content. Thank you for the thank you for the answer. It's just called Unknown Island. I knew they said the name. It was Shokoku. But yeah, the fact that it took all 5 enchanted blade wielders to bring him down, and they weren't even able to kill the Sword Saint. All they were able to do was imprison him, and then they decided that it was just easier to keep him imprisoned because they didn't want to kill any of the other enchanted blade wielders. The fact that he holds the life of every single enchanted blade wielder in his hands due to the master-slave relationship of the soul contract, it's insane. I'm pretty sure Shokoku just means small country. It's not an actual name. Oh, okay. Well, Coconut was right. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Look at me talking like I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I don't think anyone will argue with me putting Sword Saint as the S plus threat, which is exactly why I needed a separate tier for S plus. Because this is a level of power that no singular person is able to reach. And I think that's important to note. That being said, because we're going to leave Chihiro for last, most likely, we're going to just move right on. And I think the next best character to place here would be some of the S tiers, which some characters that we don't know too much about, but so we can't really say much in the analysis portion of their character. However, we can say that we know they're a powerful threat in the Kagurabachi verse, which to start with, obviously Shiba is S tier threat. We know that for a fact just by Yora explaining Shiba was quite literally the only sorcerer, the only person that he needed to take into account when moving during Hashaku missions. Samura without his enchanted blade was a problem, but they were able to completely stun lock Samura without an enchanted blade in Senkutsuji by overwhelming him with pure numbers, even when Samura had the help of the Masumi. So the very fact that Yora knew that Samura was on lock until Tobimune was released, yet still was like, we need to make sure we know where Shiba is, and if he appears, we need to get out of here now, or we need to make exact precautions, because Shiba is the, basically, not to bring Jujutsu Kaisen back into it, but Shiba is genuinely Gojo level for sure. Is this implying Shiba's above Enchanted Blade level? I would say personally, Shiba's sorcery of whether it is spatial manipulation, teleportation, whatever the fuck it is, and the very fact that him and Azami are considered to be humongous threats even to Sojo, and Yora, I think it's very clear that they are able to rival Enchanted Blades, keep in combat with Enchanted Blades. And I think Shiba stands as an S tier threat for sure. If you want to argue that he gets knocked down to Enchanted Blade level towards the end of the series once we actually see more feats from him, I wouldn't be upset and I wouldn't argue with you, right? Honestly, as of right now, we still have not seen Shiba take anything significantly. How do you feel about Tenri significantly damaging Shiba's arm? The thing is, Multiverse, thanks for popping in. I appreciate that. You have a good rest of the day. I think Shiba getting caught off guard by the Datenseki Tenri doesn't speak much, because the thing is Shiba's power doesn't come from like overwhelming intensity like it would from an enchanted blade, right? Like Chihiro, Hirohiko, Samura, all of these characters, even Sojo, all of these characters have large area of effect attacks that can significantly make them a solo threat against an army, right? Kumayori with its illusions, Tobimune with its instant teleportation to every feather and the ability to, you know, cast Suzaku over a large wide area. Like these, especially even Enten with Enten's, you know, Kuroi Shred. It was very it's very clear that like the Enchanted Blade characters have like a significant advantage against sorcerers in battle, and that is not to say that, you know, they don't have base stats that keep them strong. I mean, base Samura is still a problem. Base Samura is still, I would even argue, Enchanted Blade level. Like base Samura, I would argue probably could have fought could have fought True Realm Sojo, right? Like I think base Samura and even base Iruha arguably could still be considered Enchanted Blade level. But the thing is Shiba, because he's just a sorcerer, wins by tact. He wins by, you know, analyzing the situation that he's at hand and battling against the odds that he has before him. So like, let me give you an example. Let's say Shiba was to fight an Enchanted Blade wielder like Sojo one-on-one. And as Sojo unlocks the True Realm, Sojo, you know, uses the evolved True Realm to completely catch Shiba off guard from everything he could have originally done, and then Shiba loses an arm in that battle. Now, immediately after this, Shiba adapts to the True Realm. Shiba continually uses his sorcery to outplay Sojo and completely best Sojo in battle. Would I now argue that, oh, Sojo was able to, like, you know, clip Shiba's arm, you know, that proves how strong he is? I'd say, yeah, that makes True Realm Sojo very strong. But the issue would be, in my opinion, is that Shiba still had control over that fight. It's genuinely speaking that, you know, Shiba still is the more powerful fighter in that situation. It's just True Realm is something that Sojo Cloud Gouger, you know, Sojo's Cloud Gouger, you know, evolving isn't something that Shiba would be able to handle. You know, just like Datenseki boosting Tenri's power wasn't something that Shiba took into account. So that's how I would explain that scenario. But, you know, I'm sure I see people debating in chat, you know, it's definitely up for interpretation. But personally, I don't view like anomalies like that in battle as like direct proof of, you know, power. That being said, because we're talking about them, I did mention them. I might as well bring them up here as well. We're kind of going out of order, but that's fine. We don't have to go in any kind of order at all. Base Samura and base Aruha, like I said earlier, are still able to be Enchanted Blade level, because even with just regular sword skills in the White EI Purity style, they're able to both completely counter any Hishaku warriors that come their way. And despite the Hatshaku sorcerer, you know, being able to completely, you know, stun locks Samura in the Senkutsuji Temple, we have to remember that Hatshaku also had all of the zombified Datenseki Crystal Warriors also on Samura's ass. So I think it's very clear that in a one-on-one scenario, Hatshaku might not have gotten off as scot-free, even against base Samura. And I think base Aruha is very clearly at that same level, if not just very low, just a little bit lower than Samura in general. Because, yeah, Samura was at a direct disadvantage as well because the plants had no bloodlust. That's a really good, important point. The truth is, right, is that without enchanted blades, Samura and Aruha aren't able to maximize their power. They don't have the area of effect abilities that make them humongous threats, you know, even in all-out wars, which is where characters like Shiba would most likely take advantage of them. Like, I have no doubt when it comes to pure physical combat, especially when it comes to wielding a blade, Samura, Aruha probably completely outscale Shiba. But when it comes to bloodlusted battle, where Shiba is able to use all of his sorcery, it's done. What kind of feats do you have to play Shiba that high? The very fact that Shiba was the only person Yora was worried about during his raids on the Sword Bearers temples. It's made very clear multiple times that Shiba and even Azami as well are two of the strongest threats the Kamunabi has, or at least in Shiba's case had, right? Like, I would even consider Azami S tier level. I think pressing is a big, oh well, I guess, hold on, maybe you guys are talking in chat, maybe I'm missing that. But I think Shiba's handling of the toe proves that he is a strong fighter. I think I've seen more that, while I would love to see Shiba actually fight, and again, like I said earlier, I'm more than willing to drop Shiba down to Enchanted Blade level if he ends up not being as strong as I speculate him to be. I feel the same way about Azami, where we haven't seen a lot of Azami. Again, you know, Sojo, the only worries was Shiba and Azami, and yes, I definitely put Shiba and Azami above the above Enchanted Blade level. But keep in mind, like, as well, right? Like, I'm separating Tobimune Samura from base Samura. Like Tobimune Samura is above everyone else. So you know what? Here, let's do this. Let's do this because I think this will make everyone much happier. Enchanted Blade Plus, right? I think that will make everyone much happier, personally. I don't think anyone will complain about that. Because generally speaking, Tobimune Samura is in a class of his own, and Sword Saint is also in a class on his own. Samura's daughter isn't listed, but I'm gonna add her picture, just like I'm gonna add, I believe, Hatshaku, who's not in this as well. It was weird. There were a lot of good Kagurabachi tier lists, but every tier list was at least missing like one person. Every tier list was at least missing one person. My own question is, if Shiba is Enchanted Blade level, why didn't he fight Sojo instead of Chihiro? Because Chihiro, well, first of all, Shiba was handling all of the other sorcerers and taking care of and Chihiro and Sojo was Chihiro's fight personally, right? Not only just with like a personal vendetta against Sojo because Chihiro wanted to get Cloud Gouger himself, get his father's Enchanted Blade back, but also because, you know, Chihiro had a personal grudge against Sojo and needed to fight him to accept his philosophy and grow as a character. Like, sure, I mean, you could argue, like, why didn't Shiba just handle Sojo? I mean, why isn't Shiba currently in the story ever? Right? Like, why wasn't Shiba present during the Senkutsuchi Temple raid? Why isn't Shiba present now during the fight at Bloodshed Hotel, right? You know? Yeah, Shiba literally says, I think it's more fitting you take this. Also because Shiba trusts in Chihiro. Shiba trusts in Chihiro's path. That's the whole reason he doesn't stop Chihiro from doing everything that he already does, right? Like, despite the fact that, you know, Shiba is the adult in the room and Shiba is more powerful than Chihiro, in my honest opinion, I think that he just trusts in Chihiro and he knows that he's confident Chihiro believes in his own power. There is no new chapter today. Yeah, that's why we're doing this tier list instead. No new chapter today. That being said, since we've talked so much about Sojo, obviously we've got just Sojo at just base Enchanted Blade level. I think that's very obvious. Would I put base Somura and base Aruha above, you know, True Realm Sojo? Yeah, probably. I think they would be able to handle him. I think Sojo really was just the beginning of what a Enchanted Blade user could be. Because again, Sojo was strong, Sojo was able to synchronize with the Cloud Gouger, and he was able to put up a really good roadblock for, you know, first arc Chihiro to fight against and conquer. However, when you really think about it, you know, a weapons dealer, you know, a 30-something-year-old weapons dealer with, you know, that wasn't as experienced as someone like Samura or Aruha that fought in the Seitei War, I doubt even with all of the gifts that Cloud Gouger would give Sojo, he'd be able to surpass a master like Samura, even Aruha, especially with the pure white EI style. It just makes them completely, you know, incompatible. Where I think Sojo in his final form rises to the level of what a base Enchanted Blade level you know threat you would consider. I just don't think he reaches Enchanted Blade Plus or would be able to beat, you know, Samura or Aruha. I just don't think so. To my standing, Enchanted Blade is the pinnacle of strength, something above sorcery. Oh yeah, that's why the Enchanted Blade wielders give up their sorcery to wield Enchanted Blades. Do I think Sojo is stronger than Hirohiko? Absolutely not. I think Hirohiko is way stronger, honestly. Especially as we have him now. Which, you know what? Let's get into that, right? Let's definitely get into that. When it comes down to Student of Freedom on pure impulse, Hirohiko, is Student of Freedom Hirohiko stronger than, you know, no Enchanted Blade Samura? This is without Kumayori, right? Obviously, with Kumayori, we've got him Enchanted Blade Plus. Now, question is, how do we feel about pure white EI style Hirohiko over Aruha? Still down, still not able to beat it. I guess because they're both masters of pure white EI style, you can argue that they do beat Hirohiko's improvised style. I actually do agree with that. I would put him above Sojo, but not above base Samura or base Aruha, for sure. No, this is final form Sojo. Final form Sojo. He isn't beating Sojo as well. I would argue Student of Freedom Hirohiko is stronger than Sojo. I would argue he's beaten Enchanted Blade Sojo personally. Base Hirohiko over Enchanted Blade Sojo, personally, yes. Personally, yes. He's able to compete with Chihiro's Nishiki speed that was able to compete with full form Sojo. And he was able to compete with and he was able to overwhelm Chihiro's base sword skills until Chihiro learned the final trick of EI from Iori. So I would have to argue that EI Hirohiko is fighting the same level of Chihiro that was fighting Sojo, you know? Sure, he doesn't have Enten, but again, you have to argue that I think just based off of speed, everything, I think now he would be able to beat Sojo, personally. I would personally put EI Hirohiko above Sojo. Not above Uruha and Somura, but I would put him above Sojo. You might disagree with that, that's fine. But I think if he's able to fight Chihiro on par, yeah. He was forced to leave the hideout, right? But I don't think it was. I don't think it was because Hirohiko would have killed base Uruha. Doesn't Enten buff Chihiro's speed? Freedom Hiko fought a Chihiro without the Enten buff. Well, Freedom, but also regular Hirohiko fought Chihiro with Nishiki, right? With Enten. Regular Hirohiko fought Chihiro. Regular Hirohiko fought Chihiro with Enten, for sure. So you also have to take that into account. That was because his hideout was overwhelmed by Datenseki warriors. You know what? I would argue that at the very least, even if you want to say they're not over each other, they're close in strength. I don't want to get bogged down on saying that, you know, is EI Hirohiko stronger than True Realm Sojo? I just don't personally. Let's use True Realm Sojo because that's just better. I don't know what 2x Sojo is. I don't know why. I would just prefer True Realm Sojo. I will be honest with you. I love every single one of you guys. But I don't want to repeat myself 18,000 times. So as for example, like Shiba being on Enchanted Blade Plus level, I think just based off of Shiba Azami getting talked up by Yora, as well as their ability to, you know, make Sojo scared to fight them. I think there's multiple reasons to believe Shiba and Azami could be a Enchanted Blade Plus. But again, if you want to hear my full explanation on that, you could definitely go back into the stream and catch my explanation on that. I don't want to get stun locked repeating myself too much. I love you all though. I love you, Truck-kun. I love you. Kisses. No, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I really want to. I just don't, like I said, I just don't want to be stun locked. I just want to keep the show on the road. If you feel me. But yeah, Kumayori Hirohiko definitely fits Enchanted Blade Plus. Again, with play, with Banquet, all of the things that he's able to do, even just off of the first time using Kumayori, I think it's very clear that Hirohiko has surpassed Sojo's True Realm and has become an even bigger threat. I mean, regardless of Tobimune Somura fucking, bodying Hirohiko and everything that his True Realm was, I think it's very clear that Hirohiko, with all of the power that he gained with Pure White EI style, able to surpass the One Sword Reagan style and everything like that, I think that's very important, right? Like, Hirohiko being able to topple 100 years of sword tradition just based off of his pure potential alone, I think is important to remember, and why I think EI Hirohiko sits on Enchanted Blade level. Like, I want to make that very clear. Kagurabachi peak indeed. Still no membership for Jesse. Oh, Loud, thank you for the 10 members. I appreciate the love. I don't understand why we can't freaking get Jesse a membership, man. Oh shoot, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go click on something. I meant to go click on Loud's thing here. Hold on. Yeah, thank you, Loud, for the dono. I appreciate you. Does Jessie have the Crimson Curse? She might. She might. All right, here we go. Who's next? Who's next? Oh, Iori is on here. What do I think the last Enchanted Blade abilities will be? The thing is it's so crazy to me that we're now 70-something chapters in, and like there's still 2 Enchanted Blade wielders that we don't even know what their powers are. Like, it's still crazy to me that like this Bloodshed Hotel arc has gone on for as long as it has. It just makes me excited to know that Kagurabachi is going to be going on for a long ass time. The only reason I don't think plants will be something involved is just because we already have Hatshaku with his abilities. So that makes me, you know, that makes me curious. I'm sure there's got to be a water type, right? There was already an ice and lightning. You know, there's got to be a water type. Hiyuki's got the flame style attack. You know, Hiyuki's got the flame powers, which, you know, that being said, Hiyuki, yeah, Hiyuki, I would definitely put Enchanted Blade level. Isn't Chihiro water? I mean, he's fishies. I don't know if he's direct water. I'd put Hiyuki above Sojo, to be honest. Oh, 110%. I would also put Hiyuki above Pure White EI style Hirohiko. I think that's very clear. Would I put Hiyuki above base Aruha and base Samura? That's questionable. While we know Hiyuki has not shown us full power, it's just like, would we put her Enchanted Blade plus? I doubt it. Would we put her with Flamebone above Aruha? Hiyuki does have limiters. That's what I mean, where it's important to note that we have not seen Hiyuki's full potential. She is not able to use all of the skeleton of Flamebone at once, so we have not seen her go all out. It was said she's the current strongest Kamunabi fighter. Chihiro beat Hiyuki with the butt of his sword. Yes, but that's not with her full power. You know, that's the only thing I'm worried about. Yeah, we've only seen Flamebone at 50%. Up to the torso, I believe it was said. Yeah, we're gonna see her full Susanoo skeleton by the end of this. So what I would argue here is that Hiyuki's definitely is at Enchanted Blade level. However, because we don't know the full capacity of her power, I think it's very likely that, you know, we have Flamebone Chihiro here. I think if we had full Flamebone Hiyuki, that would probably be Enchanted Blade plus without a doubt, and that most likely would surpass the level of power Azami and Shiba can do. Because like I said, it's supposedly stated, as many people are saying in chat, that she is the strongest fighter the Kamunabi has currently. And, you know, while Shiba is not on their roster currently, so you could argue, you know, Shiba might, you know, be out of that equation. Azami is indeed on that equation. So yeah, I think full power Hiyuki is probably Enchanted Blade plus, maybe even S tier level, but that might be glazing too much. As of right now, everything that we've seen Hiyuki be capable of during her fight with Kyora, her fight with Chihiro, while she is definitely on the level of an Enchanted Blade fighter, we don't have enough feats from her, just vague statements to put her above this. And now you could argue, sure, well, you're putting Shiba and Azami on Enchanted Blade plus for vague statements. And while that definitely is the case, vague statements coming from, you know, her herself or the Kamunabi higher ups who don't know the full power of the Hoshaku, compared to Yora, who knows fully everything that everyone's up against. I think I trust Yora's word more, personally. But again, you know, Shiba and Azami might end up dropping lower, and I could be wrong. Maybe I'm giving them too much generosity. I'm not willing to argue that. Not willing to argue that at all. That being said, I think most people shouldn't be angry with me if I'm able to put, you know, Subspace Kyora and Enchanted Blade plus and Shinichi Kyura in S. Is Shinichi Kyura in S too much? Is that too OP, or is that fair? I think that's pretty clear. Because at the end of the day, the Shinichi was only stopped because Kyura realized the error of his ways, right? And eventually gave up his will to fight, to continue fighting. He gave up the Rakuzachi and passed on his heirship, his leadership to his son, Hakori, the true heir. And, you know, at least in spirit, and basically ended himself. Yeah, Kyura was also resisting the Shinichi's influence the entire time. He couldn't handle the Shinichi's power, like literally. Like, Kyura literally just accepted his fate and passed on because the power was because it was too strong. And at the same time, even without the Shinichi, Subspace Kyura was still able to put up a pretty decent fight against Chihiro in the storage room. Like Kyura Sazanami was a humongous threat, and for just being a sorcerer, even without the Shinichi, he for sure was able to rival Enchanted Blades and Enchanted Blade wielders and even best them. Kyura was for sure a larger threat than Hiyuki and True Realm Sojo, compared to, and even I would consider was a larger threat than pure white EI style Hirohiko, without fail. I don't even think that is controversial. I think Subspace Kyura sitting at the lowest level of Enchanted Blade Plus definitely works. I don't know how Kyura would handle Kumayori. I think Kyura would probably be countered pretty well by Kumayori. Not only would all of the objects in his storage space be completely taken over by Kumayori, like it's almost like Hirohiko would counter the storage room almost perfectly. Rank the Enchanted Blades once we have them all revealed. Yeah, I definitely want to. Because you figure everything in the storage room would probably get taken control of by Kumayori's play. No, I think Kumayori would go first because you figure the storage space is consistent, whereas Kumayori is the anomaly in the consistent space. You know, the storage space is always ongoing. The foundation of everything being owned by Kyura in the storage space is base. Whereas Kumayori would then take the base and change it and add and plot its strings into it. So I believe that Kumayori would probably overtake Kyura's ownership over the storage space. Would you argue that Kyura or like a more powerful Hakori could regain control of those objects through experience and just overall sorcery power? Probably. I don't want to, because we haven't seen a fight. We haven't obviously seen these two fight. So I couldn't tell you what would take precedence, but just based off of my first just impression and like what I think, I would probably put Kumayori, the Enchanted Blade, over the storage space, just because obviously we know Enchanted Blade over sorcery in most cases. So I think that's pretty fair to say. I think Kyura sitting at the bottom of Enchanted Blade Plus makes sense. End of series, Hakori will be a GOAT. You're damn right about that. I just want to remind everyone, for people that are just now tuning in, if you don't already know this, because I get this question all the time, I get this comment. If you don't already know, I do cover Kagurabachi every week, every chapter on my second channel. Link is in chat if you want to go check it out and subscribe. I cover Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, Dandadan, Chainsaw Man. I cover all these series, and also you get some extra content here or there introduced as well. So if you're not familiar and you want Kagurabachi content, definitely go sub to the second channel and you'll get as much Kagurabachi content as you could ever want. Just wanted to throw that out there, just because again, I get that all the time, people not realizing that we do Kagurabachi content on the second channel as well. All right. So that being said, since we're talking about the storage space, right now, I think it's very obvious that Hakori is not able to reach Enchanted Blade level, unfortunately. I do think while Hakori has the potential to reach Enchanted Blade Plus by the end of the series and really become a strong combatant, right now he's mostly just got, you know, willpower. He's got the willpower to carry on. He's got the willpower to use his sorcery even far past his normal human limits, even potentially almost losing his sorcery forever and highly damaging his brain just because, you know, he knows that he can't give up. He definitely has that dog in him. However, when it comes to a one-on-one fight, he is just nowhere. Like, if you put current Hokori's in a fucking coma right now. He's on his deathbed. But if you were to put, like, you know, current, you know, 100% healthy Hokori up against True Realm Sojo, like, Sojo is still winning that battle. The storage space might throw him off a couple times, but I think, you know, Hokori just doesn't meet that threshold yet. He might get a Zenkai boost when he comes back into the story and grow, and maybe training with Shiba or someone might actually help him get actual combat skills, but as of right now, he's just a storage space merchant, which isn't a bad thing. He's helpful, but he's more support than he is an actual combatant right now. And we have the toe. Now, obviously, Datenseki, Tenri, you know, it's said that the Datenseki crystals are able to push people to the level of Enchanted Blade. So, I would have to imagine that Datenseki crystal is 110% Enchanted Blade level, at the very least, the very bottom of Enchanted Blade level. Because, of course, Datenseki Tenri has way more combat skills than Hakori does. And it was even strong enough to, you know, handle Chihiro with Enten and the remainder of Cloud Gouger. Hey, thanks, Sigma Vibes. I appreciate the love. Aruha base and Somra base is over Kyor. Kyora shouldn't be that high. No, Kyora should 100% be that high. Like I said, I feel like we fully explained why Kyora is where he is, 110%. That's only when you have a lot of Datenseki crystals, Datenseki crystal users. Well, that is specifically Truckhoon when you have like the bare bones level, like non-sorcerer warriors, or like the little thugs that get, you know, that answer the Indeed ads to join the Hishaku. You know, a bunch of them are able to equal Enchanted Blade, but a sorcerer on the level of Tenri, on the level of the toe, is able to reach Enchanted Blade level, which shows like how he was able to put up a decent fight against Shiba, and put up a decent fight against Chihiro. Chihiro had to literally use the last of Cloud Gouger to kick that shit. Will Kagurabachi be getting an anime adaptation? I keep hearing whispers of studios talking about Kagurabachi, so I wouldn't get your hopes up by all these little teasers and everything like that you see, that you say, but you know, when it gets announced, I'm sure it'll be a great studio, because this series has some hype behind it, without a doubt. This series has some hype behind it indeed. Well, remember, like I said, this is Shinichi Kyora. So Shinichi, you know, we have Subspace Kyora in Enchanted Plus, you know? You know, the Shinichi Kyora being used by the Shinichi, the Magatsumi, is the S tier threat. Is the lower S tier threat. I want to make that very clear. You know, base Kyora, regular Subspace Kyora is Enchanted Blade Plus. I'm praying it's ufotable. That would be a beautiful thing right there. Imagine they finish Demon Slayer and that's what they move on to next. That would be fire as all hell. But that being said, I think it's very clear that the toe all sit, you know, on high level sorcerer level. I don't think that should really be, you know, debatable. I don't think that should be debatable by any means. You know, they're obviously the elite squad of the Sazanami clan. While they're not anywhere near the level of an enchanted blade warrior, they're definitely, you know, high level sorcerers, higher than the kind of fucking warriors that, you know, Chihiro was fighting during the during the Sojo arc, when he was basically fucking wounded and shredding them to pieces. Why are there 13 Chihiros? I know, I don't know why. I personally, I don't enjoy power scaling, you know, tier lists like this. I know a lot of people do, because they like having the different versions of Chihiro to show where each version of Chihiro sits on the scale. But like, genuinely speaking, I don't need that. We're just gonna rank we're gonna rank EI Chihiro and Enten EI Chihiro. I'm not gonna do all the Chihiros, trust me. What is this, a Dragon Ball game? Bro, it feels like it. Hey, I appreciate that, Sigma vibes. Like I said, I figured since Kagurabachi was on break, we might as well do something fun. In my opinion, I like this. Yeah, I know some people do. I know some people do prefer the tier list like this. For me, it just makes an extra 3 hours of yap. So we're gonna not do that. That being said, what we have now is we have Toto. And honestly, I struggle to put Toto even in mid. She seems quite literally just like a support sorcerer, there to teleport people in and out, and you know, maybe like a buff debuff kind of thing. But I really don't. Yeah, Toto's feetless, and she got cooked by a car crash. You know. You're gonna start drawing chapters again on MS Paint like how you used to when the JJK chapters got delayed? Hey, listen, if we start doing the Kagurabachi leak streams, I might have to bring out the Bachi MS Paint leaks. The no-op leaks are being released simultaneously. Maybe create a featless rank. Yeah, maybe. But I think honestly, bad, not good is fine. She strikes me again as truly and wholeheartedly a support type character. She wasn't even willing to fight the, you know, the sword lackeys of the Reagan style, right? Like, she wasn't even willing to get. She is genuinely like, I just don't think she's a combatant. I think she's a support sorcerer. She's like Tafuku, right? But the thing is, I would put Tafuku in like, I would imagine Tafuku is high level, but he's currently featless. You know, like, she offered to help Hirohiko but didn't want to. Maybe. I don't know where to put Tafuku. Like, he strikes me again as like a support type sorcerer as well. Yeah, so maybe featless is maybe featless. Maybe featless. Now, that being said, we have the Masumi, who I would imagine, again, all, you know, high-level sorcerer combatants. I would put them pretty much on the same level as I would the Toe. As elite ninjas, they probably do have their own levels of sorcery. What chapter Toto crashed? I want to see it. I don't remember exactly when, but it's when they're doing the motorcycle chase. I'd put the Masumi over Sojo, to be honest. I don't know about that personally. I would definitely put True Realm Sojo above the Masumi. Like, True Realm Sojo, while definitely the first villain and like the start of the power scaling system of Kagurabachi, I think it's made very clear that enchanted blade wielders surpass most average people. Like, unless you're like a very special case, like a Shiba or an Azami, like one of the like pinnacles of sorcery, then I don't think you stand a chance personally. Is this them all together or as individuals? It's individuals. I mean, they don't have an all together ranking, in here, so I just put them as high as each high level sorcerers personally. Because they were fighting Kuguri, who's stronger than EI Hirohiko. I would not put Kuguri above EI Hirohiko personally. Oh, I didn't mean to hit the thing. I would not put Kuguri at all above EI Hirohiko. Because honestly, I struggle to even put Kuguri in like Enchanted Blade level, right? Like I would probably put Kuguri just top of high level sorcerer. Like Kuguri's what has Kuguri done that makes him Enchanted Blade level right now, personally, right? Like Kuguri has pretty much been able to do everything like that the Ro, Moku, or Sumi, like the Masumi can do, everything like the To can do. I haven't really seen anything Kuguri that puts Kuguri on the level of an Enchanted Blade. Personally, like Chihiro probably would have been able to beat Kuguri if Chihiro was able to use Enten. And I think that's made very clear in their battle that Chihiro would have very easily defeated Kuguri. It's just because he has to rely on just his sword skills is the only reason why he wasn't winning. We haven't seen him use any sorcery. We don't know if he even has sorcery. Kuguri also dipped the moment that Samura showed up. And while that doesn't, that doesn't say anything, I would also probably get the fuck out of there. But personally, I just think that I wouldn't put Kuguri on Enchanted Blade level yet. Where you could argue that, yeah, Yora asking Kuguri to teach Hirohiko, I think it's very obvious that Yora's eyes and Yora's favor, while probably being on all of the children that he has adopted and raised for the purpose of taking on the Sword Saint, I think it's made abundantly clear that Hirohiko is the person that Yora has the most confidence in and has the most trust in, right? Because when it comes to handling the lead on every single mission they've done, the Senkutsuji Temple mission, and as now also the Capture Iori mission, Hirohiko is the leader. Toto even says as much that Hirohiko, Yora says whatever you want to do is the way to go. You are the one that calls the shots. It's very clear to me that Hirohiko is above Kuguri because when Yora asks Kuguri to teach Hirohiko swordsmanship, it's not because Kuguri is stronger than Hirohiko. It's because Hirohiko quite literally isn't trained at all in swordsmanship at all. Hirohiko has no experience other than just outright raw and brutal, tactless killing. Whereas Kuguri is all about tradition. Kuguri can help someone like Hirohiko grow because he can teach him things that he can't do. It's very similar to like if you were to have, let's say you had a spear user go up against a sword user, and the spear user was the strongest warrior in the entire kingdom, but the sword user was the second strongest warrior in the kingdom. Would I call the second strongest swordsman of the kingdom stronger than the strongest spearsman because the spearsman is taking sword lessons from the swordsman? Probably not. I would still think the spearman is stronger. It's just when it comes to swordsmanship, the swordsman is more experienced, so he's a better teacher. So personally, like I said, I can see where you're going with that. I definitely don't want to tell you that you're wrong. But again, Kuguri right now, we haven't seen everything that Kuguri is capable of. It's very clear we haven't. I still think Kuguri could come out the woodworks with, a sorcery or something we haven't seen him use yet. The spear would win because of better range. I wasn't necessarily saying like because of like, like range and spear and everything. I was more so making like an analogy of like, just because you train under someone to learn a skill doesn't mean that they're overall better than you. Like you might just learn something from that person because they're more knowledgeable than you in a certain category. But yeah, as of right now, until we see more from Kuguri, I just have to list him at the top of high level sorcerer. And yeah, I don't think that's tough. You know, I don't think that's hard to argue. That being said, a lot of these are repeats, so we're actually almost pretty close. Again, Kuguri could surely get bumped up to Enchanted Blade level if he comes out of the woodworks in another chapter with something we haven't seen from him yet. I want to make that very clear. Kuguri is in kind of the same position as Shiba and Azami are, where once we see more, Kuguri could get bumped up, just as if we see more, Shiba and Azami are just as easily capable of getting bumped down. So, these characters are definitely tentative placements because we just don't have too much to concretely rank them yet. So don't, crucify me for these picks right here. It's definitely a TBD, an asterisk, next to them when it comes to this ranking, to be reevaluated. That being said, let's get through some of the quick middies, and then we'll get to the final couple of characters, which I believe are just Chihiro and Yora. And so obviously we've got the Daruma Sorcerer, obviously, middle of the road, and then we've got Iori Samura as a middle of the road sorcerer as well, just because as of right now, if it came down to pure combat, I think it's pretty clear that the sorcerers of the Toe, the ninjas of the Masumi, even the sorcerers in maybe even the sorcerers in the anti-Cloud Gouger squad, the elite Kamunabi squad, would probably be able to beat Iori in a 1v1, just because obviously Iori is right now all potential. She's not trained well enough to grow, even though she will most likely be Enchanted Blade level, if not higher, by the end of the series. I have full belief that Iori will be the new wielder of Tobimune, if not by the end of this arc, at some point in the series. Iori right now is just blind swordsmanship. I just don't really fully believe. So yeah, you're right. Let me put them down here. I think Subspace Kyora and Kumayori Hirohiko should be at that level for sure. I know my boy Daruma's not great, but below Iori, yeah, I think Daruma is a weak enough sorcerer for Iori to take care of. No, I like where I'm at. I like where I'm at. I just don't agree with the Shiba was struggling with Tenri. She has a lot of third member of the main trio energy. Yeah, exactly. I think once Iori gets proper training, and is able to actually wield her, warrior nature fully, I think she'll become Enchanted Blade level, if not higher, by the end of the series. But right now, she's just mid. She is struggling fighting, the regular Datenseki crystal, thugs. That being said, Subspace Cure isn't anywhere near Shiba and Azami. I disagree personally. This is tough, right? I think this is tough. But personally, Kyora was literally able to keep the Rakuzachi going for, years, decades even. If the Kamunabi could have done something about the Rakuzachi, they would have. Personally, I fully believe that Subspace Kyora is on the same level. His sorcery is just OP. He got defeated by Hiyuki and Chihiro. No, Kyora did not get defeated by Hiyuki and Chihiro. I want to make that very clear. Kyora literally gave up. Kyora literally resisted the Shinuchi and gave up. You know, I don't think Kyora got bested by Hiyuki and Chihiro. I wouldn't argue that. Also, that's also 2 Enchanted Blade level wielders going up against you at once, right? Like, that says a lot that Kyora was even able to fight them. We haven't seen enough from Hiyuki to justify that. I don't know. We haven't seen everything that Hiyuki is capable of. As of right now, we're just scaling Hiyuki off of the power she has right now. I don't know here. Apparently he does have variants, but yeah, I just don't know. This is, we also haven't seen a lot from Azami, have we? Azami is stated to be the same level as Shiba. And we have seen Azami literally fucking one tap, you know, sorcerers before, like it was nothing. Sojo also admitted he would never want to fight someone like Azami. Even that was even after he had the Enchanted Blade. It's tough. I don't know who I would put above who here. I think Kumayori probably would put them above someone like Shiba and Azami personally, just because that would probably fuck them up pretty good. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fine. I think we're going to keep things the way that they are right here. I think we're going to keep things the way they are right here. Now, that being said, would I put, yeah, I would put EI Chihiro right next and above EI Hirohiko. However, right below Hiyuki with Flamebone, just because obviously I think EI Chihiro would be a little bit at a disadvantage going up against Flamebone without Enten. However, EI Enten Chihiro, right here. Would you argue EI Enten could beat Kumayori Hirohiko? I don't know. Like, if Somura was in this fight, who would have the advantage here? I'm sure most people in chat are gonna say Chihiro, right? But I don't know. I think this is pretty contentious. Yo, what up, Virgil? Thanks for lurking. Appreciate it. Is Kagurabachi on the same level as JJK? They can definitely fight some JJK characters, but I think Jujutsu Kaisen packs a little bit higher of a punch. I think if they're both in good condition, Hirohiko wins. I don't think so, because even though Hirohiko EI is worse, just if Hirohiko had the bodies too in a good environment, he'd win purely one-on-one. I think Chihiro could win barely. Yeah, I don't think anyone is on the same level as corrupted Shinichi Kyora. I still don't think our characters are on a level where they can handle a Shinichi wielder yet. I just don't think so. Yeah, post Shibuya, the Kagurabachi characters get cliffed. Exactly. That's pretty much right. I think this is also another contentious choice. Yeah, I completely agree, right? In a city environment, Hirohiko could win, but in a barren field, Chihiro would win. Kagurabachi is lightning speed, at the very least lightning speed, just based off of Sojo's Cloud Gouger, and everyone's scaling to that. So Kagurabachi is way faster than Jujutsu Kaisen is. They do have speed in their favor. No reason to believe Chihiro loses to Hirohiko. I think right now they both got a pretty solid reason to believe that that they could win. I think it's very clear that I think it's pretty neck and neck, honestly. I think Hirohiko has better win conditions overall, but Chihiro is just as strong and can win in certain situations as well. And when I say that Hirohiko has more win conditions overall, I mean compared to everyone else on the list below. I think Kumayori as an enchanted blade with play, banquet, and potentially the third skill that we have yet to see, and whatever true realm powers that Hirohiko continues to develop, I think definitely give him an advantage over more people on the list than EI Enten Chihiro has. Even though EI Enten Chihiro is still just as strong and able to take on all the same people on the list as well. I think just Kumayori is more versatile. That's the word I want to use. Way more versatile. What if you put a tier above Enchanted Blade, Enchanted Plus, and just put those two in equal? I'm okay with where they are right now. I'm okay with where they are right now. Like under Samura, no, I know what you're saying, but I think having them all at the same level is okay. Or maybe, yeah, maybe like a prodigy level. We haven't seen Chihiro's full true realm yet. It's true, we haven't. I mean, we've seen him start developing Nishiki and start developing moves as well. I mean, technically we have seen Chihiro use True Realm before, right? It's just we haven't seen the full capacity of Chihiro's True Realm. Kuroi Shred, Nishiki, all of the things that, like, the very nature of his attack in the theater when he fought Hirohiko the first time, like, all of that is, you know, Chihiro's True Realm, technically. Now, that being said, gotta put my boy Yora. I struggle. I really want to put him in S tier, but we just, I really just don't know. Like, I completely believe he's probably Enchanted Blade Plus, top of Enchanted Blade Plus, top of Enchanted Blade Plus for sure, top of Enchanted Blade Plus for sure. He's like a Kenjaku, not pure power, but def a top tier. Bro might be the Kenjaku of the series. Yeah, he's definitely, I don't want to push him too high. While I would probably, honestly, my base instinct is to give him S tier. I think, honestly, Tobimune Somura and the Shinichi Corrupted Kyora stand on power levels of their own. And while Yora, I think, is probably one of the strongest characters in the series without an enchanted blade, I think it's pretty obvious that Somura with Tobimune, would probably stand above Yora in power. And Yora, yeah, exactly. Yora knows he can't beat Samura. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't put Yora on the same level of power as, like, Tobimune Samura or even Shinichi wielding Kyora. I would definitely be willing to say that Yora is still probably stronger than Chihiro and Hirohiko are right now. It makes me wonder though, like I'm because like what I'm taking into consideration, you know, right now is Hirohiko with Kumayori is kind of OP. I don't know how Yura would actually handle things like play or banquet. Banquet specifically. Like, maybe he could. Maybe as a high level, like insanely strong sorcerer, he would have a way to handle the illusion. But that's also why I struggle having Shiba and Azami above Kumayori Hirohiko, because I feel like Kumayori really is an OP. Like, Enchanted Blades like Tobimune and Kumayori really do change the scale of everything. Whereas Enten is much more base, like it just amplifies Chihiro's, you know, physical capabilities and gives him some long-range techniques. Like, Kumayori full on puts you in a complete illusion. Like, it was even Tobimune Samura was falling for the illusions and had to, you know, fight through the illusions and tell himself they weren't real. Somura basically killed, like, well, Kumayori did kill Somura, but remember, Somura only died because he was saving Iori. If Iori wasn't present, Somura probably wouldn't have, you know, quote unquote died and had to use Suzaku. Definitely keep that in mind as well. That was definitely an important factor, and that's probably the main reason why Hirohiko was able to get that, you know, lethal W on Samura in the first place, was because he had no choice but to protect Iori. Even when he told himself they weren't real, he still got tricked. Exactly, which is why I just think that Kumayori as an enchanted blade is really OP. It's just super OP. And until we see more from Yura of what his sorcery can do, if it comes out that Yura does have some kind of counter, I would be completely fine with placing Yura at the top of Enchanted Blade Plus. Kumayori is the only blade that's been able to survive Samura the longest. Yeah. Yura got that wood-style jutsu indeed. And also at the same time, Yura in his fight with Chihiro, I've seen a lot of people like call Yura weak because Chihiro beat Yura in a fight, and I think it's made very obvious that Yura was playing around that entire fight and was just goading Chihiro on and just taunting him and making fun of him. I think it's very clear that Yura was not taking that fight seriously by any means. Even when he lost the arm, even when Chihiro did like I've seen so many people use that small little scuffle as an example of Yura not being as strong as Chihiro, but I just don't even think that's the case. I think it's, like I said, that was very much Yura just checking in on Chihiro, meeting up with him. You know, I haven't seen you in 3 years. How have you been? Like, you know, it was an Itachi Uchiha move. He literally was like, your hatred isn't strong enough. Grow that hatred, you know, Chihiro. Hate me more. Like, you know, it was definitely, that was nothing. I personally still believe that Yura probably still could beat Chihiro. Yura did say he had to sacrifice an arm to keep up with Chihiro's new speed, though him shrugging off Chihiro's stab to the chest is impressive. Yeah, so the thing is here is, that is specifically what I mean by that. And that is specifically what I mean by how sorcerers can surpass enchanted blades, but they may take a little bit of damage during it. How is Chihiro stronger than Shiba? Well, again, I'm like, it's important to realize that, like, when it comes to overall ability, Shiba is the stronger fighter. I put Chihiro and Hirohiko above Shiba in the ranking because Kumayori and Enten, the enchanted blades themselves, are advantages that Shiba might not be able to overcome. Right? Like, especially Chihiro with the pure white EI style, as well as things like Akka, Kuroi, Nishiki. I think Shiba would have a much harder time than he would against someone like True Realm Sojo, right? I think Yura is still above Chihiro, and maybe we should consider this Yura to be base, right? Under the Kumayori, however, he has the potential and plot interference to be on the level of the S tiers. Like I said, I think it makes sense that Tobimune, Somura, and Shinichi Kyora would stack above Yura. Like, Yura knows Yura's not fucking with Somura, otherwise Yura would kill Somura where he stands. And again, keep in mind, the Enchanted Blade Plus wielders are all on the same tier. Like, some might be, ranked higher than others, but I want to make it very clear that if you are on the same category as another character, you are relatively close in, combat power. So just because I would rank, EI Ent and Chihiro above Shiba, it just means that I would probably put my money on EI Ent and Chihiro winning more battles on the lower tier fights than I would with Shiba. Like, Kumayori is a problem, and why I put Kumayori Hiriko above Yura and Chihiro is because, again, Kumayori is an intense Enchanted Blade to defeat. The illusions, the corpse and complete building destruction, like like all of that, is a significantly insane level of combat potential compared to Enten, which, again, sure, you have Kuroi Shred, Nishiki, Akka, things like that, but it's just way better than Hirohiko. It's a strange way of ranking characters. I mean, it makes more sense personally because so let's say, for example, like I have, this is the perfect example right here. Like, let's say EI Chihiro is, able to beat True Realm Sojo and Datenseki Tenri. But Hiyuki right here, is able to beat EI Chihiro. Now, Hiyuki, well, maybe that's not a very good example. Maybe Kagurabachi isn't the best, use of that. I'm trying to think of a good example where it makes sense, because the thing is certain people have higher win cons against other people's. It all comes down to matchups, right? Like, let's say, for example, Shiba has teleportation sorcery, right? Shiba, we don't know exactly what Shiba's teleportation is, what sorcery is, but let's just give him base teleportation. So Shiba going up against someone like EI Enten, Shiba going up against someone like, Enten Chihiro that has Akka, Kuroi, Nishiki, all of these things that can power up his speed, power up his attack power, is definitely, creating a different matchup than Shiba versus base Somura, where base Somura has no AoE attacks, has no, long range moves, and is quite literally just a swordsman. Like, abilities interact differently. It all comes down to matchup. And what I mean by that is, let's use a different series, for example. Let's use a different series, for example, that has more like base simple abilities that counter each other. I mean, honestly, Kumayori versus Subspace Kyora is perfect. Like, that's actually the perfect example. Like, Subspace Kyora, going up against like a character, any of these characters probably would put up a really good fight. But when it comes to Kumayori Hirohiko, Kumayori's ability directly counter storage space, directly counter the sorcery entirely. So Kumayori Hirohiko would defeat Subspace Kyora a lot easier than he might defeat Shiba. Even though Subspace Kyora ranks higher than Shiba, Kumayori Hirohiko, has a harder time with Shiba because Storage Space Kyora is a bad matchup, a horrible counter. Kumayori can just completely take control of all of Kyora's storage space and overwhelm him entirely. Whereas against Shiba, Hirohiko actually has to fight against Shiba's teleportation and try to take advantage of him and beat him. He doesn't have the same kind of counters. So I think that's the difference, right? And that's how I base, and that's personally how I think ranking should go, as opposed to this character beats this character, so therefore he's stronger. This character beats this character, so therefore he's stronger. It's all situation based. If, let's say, if base Somura beats 75% of the cast, but Aruha beats base Somura but only beats 60% of the cast due to matchup, I would rank base Aruha lower than Somura because Somura kills and wins more battles than Aruha does. So therefore, even though Aruha is stronger than Somura in a 1v1, you know, Somura is stronger overall. Obviously, that is not the case. I'm just using that as an example. I don't actually believe that Aruha is stronger than Somura, but just to give you an idea of that kind of explanation, the way that these characters are ranked. Like, it's important to realize that as well, that a character's versatility and their utility in battle also matters. It's not just raw stats. It's also things like intelligence, strategy. You know, let's put a character let's put a character with one brain cell up against Student of Freedom Hirohiko. Student of Freedom Hirohiko is definitely going to beat, you know, the character that has one brain cell, even if they have higher stats, because Hirohiko is just smarter and can outplay that person. A good example is the deadlock between Yuta, Kurorushi, Oro, Ryu, and Driv. Yeah, I just didn't want to bring up another series to explain this series. But that's exactly those characters created a deadlock, not because they were all equal in power, but because their direct techniques and abilities countered each other so well that it made it impossible for any of them to make a direct move until Yuta came in to completely break the status quo of Sendai. So yeah, I think that it's very important to take that all into consideration when ranking characters. Which is why, again, like, I might put someone like Yura, you know, again, and I want to make this very clear, like, the Enchanted Blade Plus category can be moved around often. It can be moved around a lot. Right? Like, even if you want to say that, like, Subspace Kyora is weaker than Azami and Shiba. Like, even if you did want to say that, you know, like, sure, fine. I wouldn't argue that. Even if you wanted to still put Shiba and Azami above EI, Entin, Chihiro, like, stuff like that. Like, I just think, like, even though EI, Entin, Chihiro, and Shiba, like, with Entin, his full Enchanted Blade, and the Pure White Ida style, everything that Chihiro's gained, I think he might be able to tackle more threats than Shiba. I mean, the Enchanted Blade definitely helps, but that doesn't mean I don't think Chihiro versus Shiba wouldn't be a great fight. Like, just because I have, you know, Chihiro, you know, a higher rank doesn't mean that Shiba wouldn't put up a good fight against Chihiro. I think these two characters are probably more closer to equal than more people want to let on. But again, it all depends. I mean, I've seen so many takes in this chat alone that, like, this tier list is definitely up for interpretation. Completely up for interpretation without a doubt. Simply because, you know, we also don't have all of the information about all of these characters. You know, again, Hiyuki is ranked at Enchanted Blade level, but we know that Hiyuki has limiters on Flamebone and isn't able to use her full power. Full power Flamebone Hiyuki may scale way higher. Same with, like, Kumayori Hirohiko. If Hirohiko still gets Kumayori back and starts developing his true realm even more. Once we get more chapters and feats, we should do a JJK versus Kagurabachi random spin wheel. That would be fun. That definitely would be fun. I definitely want to do more spin wheels and stuff like that. I think tomorrow on Monday night, I think we're going to do another Tournament of Power. We're either going to do Disney and Boomerang, or we're going to do Nick Jr. and PBS. But we have Hirohiko above the leader of the Hishaku. Yes, because right now it's not clear at all how Yura would respond to Kumayori, right? We don't know if Yura is just, you know, Mr. Hishaku with the strong sorcery skills. I think it's made clear very time and time again that Enchanted Blades give an advantage in battle that most sorcerers aren't able to keep up with. Like, again, do I think Yura has more experience and is probably much more seasoned and a stronger combatant than Hirohiko? Yes. Is there anything in the series that shows that Yura would be able to compete against Kumayori's Banquet and Illusions? No. Same thing with Shiba. Would my, gut instinct tell me Shiba could probably mollywop Hirohiko in a one-on-one fight? Yes. Does my gut instinct also remind me that Shiba has shown nothing that would prove he could handle Kumayori's illusions? Same. Kumayori and Entin are two entirely different Enchanted Blades. Where Entin has, again, Kuroi Slash, Nishiki, I've repeated myself multiple times at this point, so stream is definitely coming to an end soon. And I thank all of you guys for being here. And if you haven't hit the like button already, please hit the like button. It helps the stream way more than you know. Kumayori is a much more debilitating enchanted blade than Enten is to face in combat. I'm assuming Yura is stronger than Hirohiko too. I would definitely assume Yura is stronger than Hirohiko. But as of right now, if Yura doesn't have an answer to Kumayori, then even though Yura is stronger than Hirohiko, Kumayori beats Yura, and Kumayori beats most other characters in the series as well, which is, like I said, the whole idea with matchups and everything like that. But yeah, I think this is a pretty definitive tier list. The Sword Saint is, of course, the S+ threat, the world-ending threat, the malediction, the strongest possible force of nature in all of Kagurabachi. And I think with, again, the nature of what we've seen with Suzaku, with fucking the instant teleportation of Tobimune, everything that, you know, honestly, just he's capable of, I think it's obvious that, you know, Somura stands in a class on his own. I think it's very clear. That being said, I think the same can be said for Shinichi Kyora. And I want to make it very clear for those tuning in or those that are seeing this tier list late. You know, we have base Kyora, subspace Kyora, that fought Hiyuki and Chihiro with the storage space with just the regular sword in Enchanted Blade Plus, because obviously he was able to handle Chihiro, he was able to handle Hiyuki, these characters that are Enchanted Blade level, you know. But I think it's clear that with the Shinichi being weld, he was becoming a threat that none of these characters below probably would have been able to handle. And I think that's not because of Kyora's strength. I think that's quite literally because of the Shinichi's strength. My opinion, I'd put Hiyuki above base Aruha. I struggle with that, just because, again, we have to remember Hiyuki with her limiters was still able to be countered by a Chihiro that hadn't learned EI White Purity style. Obviously, again, Hiyuki had limiters. She wasn't using her full, you know, she did release another limiter to go up against Kyora, I believe. But I think it's clear that, like, base Aruha, base Somura, the veterans of the Seitei War are both capable of fighting characters like Hiyuki, like Chihiro. Honestly, I would even argue that, like, base Aruha and base Somura would probably be able to beat Kyora in a fight. Or at least give Kyora a run for his money on their own, personally, right? But again, I still put Kyora above an Enchanted Blade Plus just because he's able to handle Chihiro and Hiyuki together. Whereas, you know, Aruha and Somura without their Enchanted Blades, while they'd probably put up a really, really good fight against Kyora, I think, you know, they suffer a little bit more compared to characters like Shiba, Azami, and everything like that. Yeah, Sakamoto Days is on break just like Kagurabachi is. It is a break week, unfortunately, which is why we're doing this tier list instead of a chapter reaction, because we do chapter reactions every Sunday on this channel. We stream every Sunday, reacting to the Sunday Shonen channels, and also if you miss those streams, we do stream. We do upload the videos and the recaps of chapter reviews every Sunday, every Monday, Tuesday for Dandadan and Chainsaw Man as well on the second channel. So if you want more Kagurabachi content, Sakamoto Days content, any other content for Shonen Jump, definitely follow and subscribe to the second channel. There's also extra content, not just chapter reviews, you know, Gojo vs Obito, Kanaguri vs Everyone, Shin vs Mafuyu analysis, you know, Sakamoto vs Slur. We've got, you know, Sakamoto Days fight analysis. We've got Psycho, Okaroon, you know, Count Saint Germain, how strong are videos. You know, we're going over everything. So there's going to be plenty more Kagurabachi stuff coming on the second channel as well. I do have a full 17-minute analysis on Sojo and what makes him an awesome character. So don't be scared to check that out on the second channel. Again, link is in the description. But guys, we are coming up on the end of stream, and I just want to say I genuinely do appreciate every single one of you guys for popping in, hanging out with us, and sharing all your opinions. Generally speaking, I think especially in a series like Kagurabachi, there is still plenty of wiggle room, especially on characters that we haven't seen the full power of. And I think that is one of the most important things to keep in mind. There is a Discord for the community. However, Discord is members only, and that's not because I'm money hungry. That's just because it is it's an easy way to vet the Discord and make sure we don't get spammers, people that want to post gore and fuck the server up, which does happen all of the fucking time, believe it or not. However, I did make a member tier for $1 a month. So if you don't want to pay $5 a month, completely understandable. You don't have to. But if you do want to join the Discord community, because we do hang out, talk there a lot, it's $1 a month. You join the monthly membership once, and you get access to the Discord for life. I don't require consistent membership. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's nice, you know, to bring you into the community and then take it away from you. I think that's kind of, you know, scummy. So if you become a member even once, you get access to the Discord for life. Again, I only use the membership as a way to vet, you know, spammers and terrible people from coming into the community and ruining it. So again, even if you want to pay $1, join the membership and then cancel it, you know, like I said, literally pay the $1, join the Discord, and then cancel the membership and refund it. That's on you. Feel free. I'm not going to complain about that at all. I just want more and more people to feel like they can join the Jogo Gang community. That's all that matters to me, sincerely and wholeheartedly. I do this for fun. And while obviously this is my job and I need to pay the bills, I talk about anime and manga and hang out with you guys because I enjoy it and you guys make it fun to do. Not because I'm trying to strip you guys of all of your money. I don't even read Kagurabachi, but W stream, I'll be leaving early. Hey, Choso, thanks so much for popping in. I always appreciate you. Hope you have a good rest of the Sunday. And honestly, you know, this is pretty much the end of the stream. So, I mean, that's a good time to transition into our way out. Guys, you know, whether you know, watch because you enjoy no-op content, you watch because you enjoy Kagurabachi, whatever you're here for, just know that I do genuinely appreciate you, whether you're a chatter, you're a lurker, or even if you chat and we go back and forth, you know, getting stun locked about power scaling opinions, just know that I wouldn't change, you know, this job for the world. I love every single one of you. Again, we don't have to agree on everything at all. I'm not that type of creator. Disagree with me every chance you possibly get. You know, argue with me every single time you can, and call me out if I'm being wrong or if you think I'm being biased, because at the end of the day, the truth is I don't want to be biased. I just want to be as fair and honest to the series that I love as possible. So if I'm doing something wrong or I'm completely out of my gourd, I generally do love hearing it. And while again I may disagree, that's the beauty of, you know, the Jogo Gang community. We can agree and we'll still love each other by the end of everything. How's Azami that high on the list? Don't remember him having any big fights. Azami pretty much shares the same kind of clout as Shiba does, where he is considered a huge threat by high-level villains like Yora and Sojo. But again, we just haven't seen them have full feats. So I give him the same clout as Shiba. Again, these characters have a big... I wish I could put like an asterisk next to them, because they are very important to know that they could go down at any moment, the moment we get, you know, we find out more. Ayo with the 5 gifted members from Loud. Thank you so much, Loud. Thank you, Loud, for constantly holding the community on your back and supporting, and genuinely speaking, like, I appreciate the amount of love and support you do show the channel. I can't stress it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, like, I know I make the joke, but like, you guys gotta start picking up Loud slack, because this is crazy. It's crazy how much you let this man gamble on Jesse's membership like this. Hold off on the Phantom Parade gotchas and start rolling for Jesse's membership, damn it. That's what we're all about here. All about the friendship. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I love all of you guys so much. I genuinely do appreciate the viewership, the love, the support. I always will, from the bottom of my heart. I had a lot of fun today. it's sad that we didn't get a chapter this week, but next week I'll be here for sure at 11 a.m. stat reacting to the new Kagurabachi chapter as well as the Sakamoto Days chapter. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss any future streams, share it with your friend if you think this is the definitive Bocce tier list. Personally, I think it is, but who am I? But yeah, guys, I genuinely do appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. I'm sending you that spirit bomb energy. Of course, Fractured Coconut comes back right as the stream is ending. Oh, you hate to see it. But seriously, I'm sending you guys that spirit bomb energy, whether it is morning, afternoon, or night. I hope you guys accomplish everything you could ever possibly imagine. And just know, if you don't have anyone in your corner, I am always in your corner. And I will see you guys tomorrow at the next tournament of motherfucking power, baby. Peace, 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 peace.